From Portland, Oregon to Apalachicola, Florida, from Sparks, Nevada to Old Stagecoach Road, Georgia. Let's ride. We want to ride shotgun with you for the next hour, talking trucking with Deaton and Doty. How's it going, Mike?
Good. Good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How about you, Christian?
Yeah, doing extremely well. Thanks.
It's good. It's sunny up here. We had snow 2 weeks ago. Now it's 80 degrees. It's beautiful out. Enjoying life. Mike, that's the story of your life, isn't it? In Florida,
it's getting hot.
Snow
now it's gonna be 95 and 100% humidity till about October. But so
today on the show, Jim Mackey's joining us to recap the cattle show. Ray battles Kumar with trucking questions with Kumar, and Joel Howle on Wide World of Sports. You see Joel sitting there at his sports news desk
/ trucking
in the news with Ian Dunlap, and we've got the latest and breaking news that Ian's going to bring in the world of trucking. Also, we've got some more entries in the fishing contest. Nikki Bloom, our dispatcher and one of our dispatchers in the office, sent in a picture of a monster fish she caught while kayaking with her fiance Rodney. And we got a really little fish that Carol sent in. I think this was about 15 or 20 years ago. So I don't know, guys. Are we going to count that, Zach?
Probably not.
Okay, well.
It's also like the blurriest picture ever.
So we're not even sure if that's Carol.
I was going to say, is it a Polaroid or
Yeah, I think it's something. She photoshopped it. So that's what we're going to do on the show today. Christian, Mike, you want to go over some of the guys that you've been planning this week, how it's been going?
Yeah, I got a couple guys I put together. They I think I mentioned last week a lot of the guys were either in the shop or at home, and it seemed like I was busier last week, but I don't know why. But I put together some maps for these guys. Let me share my screen. Give me 1 second here. So this is I don't really want to. Can you guys see that? I don't know. Wait a second. So I don't want to mention names. I don't know if they want their business out there, so I'll just go through it. This was a guy that just started. He picked a truck up out of Texas and went over to his house get his stuff for the weekend, and then he left out on the 3rd. And this is from 5/3 to 5/11. He did 98.25 on 2148 miles, but I think that was about 100 miles less because he didn't go through Canada. Obviously, I think it was about 2250 on the miles. So he was right at what was it? That he was at 457 a mile.
That's a great week.
What's the equipment? What's the trailer he's pulling?
Van. These are all
Good.
van except for
That's
one.
Great.
Mike's guys are all van except for one guy that's a step deck.
Yeah,
Okay.
that pulls a step
Good.
deck. And then let's see, who is this? This was another guy. Again, I would say his name, but I don't know if they want their business out there. Continued because that was the previous week, 514, 520. So he got a load from up here down to, I might be missing a load in there in Dallas. Yeah, I am. I'm missing his load from, I got him from the Northeast to Texas, but I think I got him like $4,300 down to there because it had a couple stops in it, but it wasn't too bad. So anyway,
so is that what he ended up with? 8,200? Is that right?
Yeah, on those loads from Dallas to Pennsylvania, to Jacksonville, and then he'll be empty Friday morning in Georgia. But I'm missing the load. This is that continuation of that last one. I am missing a load in between there because he came from the Northeast to Dallas. Like I said, I think I got him 4,300, but I forgot to add that in there. This is the same guy, Van. So he did really well. I think he was at somewhere around 290 on that run that you're seeing there. And this one is same thing, 5'11" to 5'18". Who is this? I won't mention names, but this is a van. Oh, this was another new guy that started. He came right out of he picked up his truck Monday in Alabama, went over, did his orientation Tuesday in Georgia.
That's Lee. Mike, you can mention Lee's name. I asked him. He said absolutely anytime.
Okay. So this is Lee. He
and we're glad to have you, Lee. You're really a good fit for our team.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's asked a lot of questions, but they're all the right questions. He's going to learn quick. But yeah, he picked up his truck in Alabama, went over. We knocked out his orientation the very next day, and he picked up after orientation, picked up the load Tuesday afternoon in Georgia, and this was kind of his run for the week. And yeah, 9709. He was at about 333 a mile on that run. And these are all, and then when I put up these maps up like this, these are all miles. These aren't just loaded miles. These are
deadhead
yeah,
included.
Deadhead and all. So this is total miles. Then this was John. I don't think he was step deck. He was down for a little while for some repairs. He got a load out of South Carolina over to Texas, and then just a load from Texas to Ohio.
I can hear you.
7350 on right at 2,000 miles. I think he was, what was he? I think about 360 a mile.
Yeah.
For that. And I got him a good load from Ohio, right on the border there of North Florida and Georgia for $4,000. It'll be empty Monday. And the next one, this is, Robbie. Yeah, Robbie came out of the house.
Finally, Robbie. Finally got out of the house.
Yeah. He doesn't go home much. He stays on the road pretty. So
like
he was home
Robbie.
about a week or so, or not quite.
So Robbie did 9,400. Right?
Yeah, 9,400 on about 2780 on the miles.
Okay.
All
miles too.
Yeah, all miles. A couple stops on that load up to Maine. We'll see what I can get him out of there. I think he'll be empty Thursday afternoon. We'll see what I can do for him out of there. I've been getting pretty lucky out of the Northeast. Actually, been doing really well.
Northeast has been good. And I think Christian will probably get into that in a little bit with we talk about some tender rejections maybe in that area. One thing I helped. I helped Nikki Bloom, one of our dispatchers, book Mark Chavez, just to give you an idea of that California market. Mark lives in SoCal, so on Friday, I think he picked up Saturday. We booked him a load on Friday, 5,250 on 850 miles, California to Portland, and he delivered that on Monday. Nikki got him 1,850 on a short load over to Boise area, I believe. It was 400 miles, 1,850. So that put him at, you can do the math. There was one other load in there. It was cheap going back, but he gets back tomorrow, delivers tomorrow and back in SoCal, and he'll be at 8,200 on about 2,200 miles, all miles in. So 8,200 on 22. Nikki, nice job. And Mark usually runs. He leaves the house in California and he comes up this way to the Midwest, and he usually runs southeast, Midwest, kind of stays over this way for a few weeks, and then goes back to California. So that's how he's ran for years. But since it's been so hot out there, we decided to try this north and south with him, and obviously it worked out really well. 8,200 in total revenue on 2,200 miles. Might have even been 21. And two of those loads were really light too. He had to grab a heavier load coming back to California, but so yeah, that was a good week. And plus Mark's trying to stay close to home. He's got some doctor's appointments, so we're kind of running him like that. It was a great job, Nikki. Ray, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
So Mark and I were talking earlier, and so Mark had an accident. He got up at Applebee's a few years ago and slipped and fell. And I kind of just wanted to share it. Ray and everybody in our office kind of nicknamed Mark after this. But so he slipped and fell, and he was off duty and all that. But I guess they had mopped the floor, and he didn't pay attention. And he busted up his shoulder pretty good, had surgery and all that. He was out for what, Ray, 5 months or something?
I think he was. I want to say it was like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, it was a long time.
But I think it was.
It was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So then we gave Mark a nickname, Egin, E-G-I-N, and it stands for Eating Good in the Neighborhood. And this was way after he healed up. And so then Stacy Collette, our safety director out at corporate office in Montana, called us and said that they had a safety award for Mark. This was a few months back, that they were going to send him a black jacket and put his name on it. And so we were all excited for Mark. He does do a great job with his logs and safety. He does everything right. So I called Nikki Bissett and I said, when you put his name on there, can you put Mark Egin Chavez on there? And she's like, yeah, what's that stand for? And I said, Eating Good in the Neighborhood. She lost it. So it was just a funny story. And that's Mark is very proud of his nickname, though, these days. So, but anyway, that's Mark Chavez and how he ran this week. Ray, I booked another load this week. I booked you out of Texas when you left the house. I think I got $4,000 over to Virginia, over Richmond.
You got me that load, and it's pretty cool though, because it's coming out of the Nimitz World War II, the Admiral Nimitz Museum.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm hauling World War II artifacts.
Yeah, going to the Navy base in Richmond, I think, is where it's going, right?
Yeah, what they said was they're opening up a new museum up in Richmond Museum. Richmond, Virginia. I'm sorry, and they're opening up a new museum there on that naval base. So that's why they're returning all of their stuff to them.
So did you get a look at what was in the trailer, Ray?
The only thing I could see what was not created was some stuff like it looked like gunners and tubing. So I'm assuming it's probably had something to do with I don't know, artillery or some sort. That's what I think it is.
That's a pretty cool load.
He didn't stop by Roanoke. Just so you know, he didn't stop by Roanoke.
Hey, how far are you from Richmond, Christian?
Less than 150 miles.
Oh, okay.
I'm right there off 81. Yep.
So what base would that be? The Navy base there?
81 is your guess?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
What would do you know what naval base is over there in Richmond?
No.
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 I was just curious.
I don't pay much attention to that.
Did
it should be on. Is it on the bill, lady?
Yeah, I was wondering. Is it on your bills, Ray?
Okay, so Defense Supply Center, 8000 Jefferson Davis.
Okay, so that's a main.
Highway.
That's the main stretch through Richmond.
Yeah.
Jefferson Davis.
Well, anyway, that was a pretty cool load, hauling museum artifacts from the military museum. So those were the couple of loads that I was involved with this week. And that was about it. A couple things, but Christian, we'll get on to what you're seeing in the market.
Yeah.
The DAT this week, equipment posts are up 14%, which obviously after, we're a few weeks after the Blitz week, so we're seeing more and more carriers back online. That's why that was up. Load to truck ratio, it's still up 3%. Flatbed's still on a tear. I thought this was interesting. Reefer, Atlanta to Philly lane, $4 a mile plus fuel last week. Charlotte to Buffalo, $363 plus fuel. Ontario, California to Dallas, $332 plus fuel. Those are reefer rates that the DAT put out for last week. Still a ton of strawberries coming off the West Coast, like we talked about last week. Florida, the Lakeland reefer rate, $267 plus fuel. Tom mentioned to me today that it seemed like he books a lot of our reefers. He said it seemed like it was getting a little soft. It was getting a little cheaper down in Florida.
Yeah, we're showing the same thing.
Yeah.
Same with Southern Georgia. So it's going to start to come up towards the Carolinas or warm up, and that'll cool off a bit.
Yeah. let's see. Basically, the 135 markets. The average for dry van this past week was 242 plus fuel, according to the DAT, and flats were 274 plus fuel. That's all markets, obviously. So there's some averages in there. 135 markets. I did think this was interesting. Cleveland, Ohio, which is where we are pretty much, to Harrisburg, which is a short 350, 400 miles roughly, $5 a mile plus fuel. So that's a pretty hot lane right now. So what are you guys seeing, Christian, in the market? Tender rejections.
Yeah. So tender rejections, drive-in rejections dropped just a little bit. It's down to, it's either 23 or 24% from what I remember. Reefer rejections, they're still up. They're up to 41%. So refrigerated is much like flatbed and open deck. It continues to climb. The one thing I didn't look at was the overall volume that was in the market. So rejections, it could be just that we do have certain trucks coming back from a blitz. It could be how much volume of freight was being pushed in the market compared to the week prior. Because when it's only jumping a point or two, it's a lot of freight. But in retrospect to the entire market, moving a point or two in dry vans, not a huge needle.
Mm-hmm. I think that on that DAT,
I think there's conversations. Yeah.
That DAT webinar, they mentioned that they are seeing an increase, like I said, a 14% increase in equipment posts. But they're still seeing the load to truck ratio. And I didn't write down the exact amount, but when I watched it yesterday, they said they did see the load to truck ratio still. There's a lot more loads than there are trucks pretty much everywhere.
And I expect it to be that way. I met with our local utility trailer and equipment manufacturer and talked to him about the availability of equipment and their slots, and also what are the cost of trailers next year. We start looking at the cost of equipment in a used market. You're paying new prices for 3 and 4 year old equipment right now. And if we can't get ourselves in line to get new equipment as the year goes on, then are we better off buying used equipment overvalued and hoping the market holds together? Or should we go ahead and start to look at next year and pay what presumably I think Great Dane might have released was like a $40,000 to $45,000 spec, as opposed to a $35,000 to $37,000 spec. So the cost of things are opening and raising, but a lot of the equipment manufacturers, with the COVID restrictions being brought off, they're able to get it much more full capacity. So hopefully that'll help some of the equipment capacity issues that we're having here to get our hands on trailers for growth and things like that.
Yeah, that's one thing Ian's going to go over in the news. We were talking about it earlier, just about equipment and, even in the market with used trucks. He'll go over that a little bit, but it's slim pickings out there.
Yeah. And what is out there is not really stuff you want to pick up a lot of times.
You're going to pay a premium for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I was thinking about buying a truck this year. Then you start looking at those used truck prices, and man, I don't know the route to go. Is it better to just bite the bullet and see if you can buy a new truck and maybe put a, company driver in it versus overpaying for used equipment? Or, what are your thoughts on that?
I think when you look at new equipment, you have to look at the depreciation schedule you're going to have, right? We know that typically, and the end of the year is the best time to get into some of that for what they're looking to get off their lot. Right now, where it's crazy, I would suggest buying something new is not going to depreciate in value as quickly as anything else. If the market does evaporate, it's still a new truck and you still have it. You buy a truck with 450 to 500,000 miles on it right now. And the market, not that it's going to disappear. All the indicators say it's going to run pretty well through the end of this year. But even at that, you have 6-8 months and you're $15,000 from where this price was 6 months ago. That's going to evaporate pretty quickly. So if you have the credit and you've got a driver that you can put in it and make money with it, I normally don't steer towards new equipment, but that's the place to go. Yeah, especially when you look at what's on the shelves for repairs. I mean, it's just not, semiconductors, it's a lot of other parts and pieces. The cost of metal is going up. The cost of polymers is going up. And so that's also going to affect how many people are keeping inventory on the shelf.
Well, you don't want to overpay for a used truck.
Correct.
Right. It's obviously you're going to have to right now if you find one, but you don't want to overpay. And then, coming with that used truck is going to be maintenance and repairs that you normally wouldn't have, or you'd have maintenance, but not repairs, so to speak, with a new truck.
Yeah.
Ray got a really good deal on his truck he bought last week, and Matthew, Ray was all upset with you because you didn't put his picture of his new truck up. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll show it. He knows to get it up there. So Ray bought one of our other drivers, Robert Selby's trade-in, and we've been mentioning that on the show. But Brian at Truckworx told me, he said, man, in 10 dealerships, we've got 9 used trucks. He said, and Ray, before Robert traded in, we already made a deal that Ray was going to buy his trade-in. So that didn't even hit their inventory. And that's why Ray got such a good deal on it, because we had worked that out in the trade-in. But
Mike, I can broker this deal for 15 points, Ray. If you want 15 points on your truck, we can do it now if you want.
I was going to say the 3 trucks that Russ, the trucks you bought last year, and then the 3 I bought in October couldn't have been better timing. We could probably sell those right now and make money on them.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
Definitely. Yeah, we bought the 10 last year. I got a great deal on them, and then we bought 4 more recently. I had to pay a little more for them, but not what I'd have to pay right now.
Yeah,
it would. And Brian told me that. He said that was it on those. I can't get that kind of pricing anymore.
No, I got 2016s for $30,000 a piece.
Yeah,
with mid 4s, 400,000 on them.
Yeah,
you couldn't find that now.
Good job.
Yeah, you couldn't find it now.
Nope.
Yeah, and I think I got the last good price truck too off of Brian's lot right now too. So it's like what,
you
48,
got a great deal,
48 on a 20. Yeah, it's 48 on a 2017.
T680.
T680.
And
yeah.
Ray knows
full
the
owner
history.
operator package.
Yeah, he knows the history too, because Robert and Ray are friends. So Robert took great care of the truck, has all the service records. Ray knows everything that's been done to it. So, and they gave Robert, they didn't make much on that truck. I mean, with you, Ray, because they gave Robert mid-40s on it on trade. And man, that's a nice truck. And
is that the one he had on Facebook, the black truck?
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
You know, and this is another thing that I failed to mention as well. But you know, when Robert Selby took the truck in, it was leaking at the oil pan. So we thought it was a gasket, an oil pan gasket, which isn't much to fix. It doesn't cost a lot. But anyways, so I told Brian, I said, well, do me a favor, take it in the shop. You know, if you can run it by the shop and just diagnose it, let me know what I'm dealing with. So he told me, yeah, it's an oil pan gasket, and we can fix that for you for X amount of dollars, right? So so I agreed to the price. They put it in the shop, and the mechanics came out and said, hey, we misdiagnosed it. It's actually a cracked oil pan. So
you know what happened, Ray? We got to the bottom of this. So right before Robert traded that truck in, he broke down a month or two before, and he had DPF issues. So Robert paid about $4,500, had the whole DPF clean, new filter, had all that work done. But when the guy came and towed him to the shop, that's what we figured out, that the guy hit the oil pan when he hooked up to the truck. And that's what happened. So it wasn't the gasket. But they took care of you on that, didn't they? Brian did.
Oh, yeah, they sure did. See, Brian called me up and says, hey, I got bad news. We misdiagnosed your truck. It's not leaking from the oil gasket. But the good news is it's a cracked pan, and the good news is we're gonna buy the pan for you and replace it for you. Just pay the labor. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's all like, yeah. And these pans are not cheap. We're talking about $700-800 for the pan. And they're not made of metal either. They're plastic. They're carbon. They're like a carbon fiber material.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got real lucky on that. So I really just walked out with the labor cost on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brian's great to deal with. I keep looking on his, speaking of his inventory, I keep looking on his website, but
not much.
There's nothing. They got like 2 trucks to rent on there and a couple day cat. Like there's nothing.
So Christian, with the tender rejections, what's the hottest market? Where do you think we should be sending trucks next week?
Let me do a screen share here now. I did not update this from last week. Right now, I'm a Carolina guy. If I can put guys in Carolina moving this 4 week, that's where I'm going to do it. Obviously, you got berries off the west. So I know last week we did the DATR review. So I guess what I'll do is kind of go into freight waves a little bit because we keep talking about tender rejections. See, big. We keep talking about tender rejections, but we haven't really spoke about much of where it comes from. I mean, we understand where the information comes from, that we talked about 80% of the market being held by freight waves and the $1 billion spends. From the changes of last week to this outside the market, we talked about fuel last week. It's up about 6.3 cents per gallon. So obviously fuel surcharge jumped and clicked over for that 5 cents jump. So it jumped up to 38 cents per mile from 37. But when we look at freight waves, there's two different things we look at. Obviously, we look at DAT, and that's great. But it also, DAT can be used as more of a historical trend and current pricing analytical tool.
Yeah,
when we're looking at where we're going to,
the information is a week old,
exactly,
a couple days to a week old.
Yeah, and so if you look at a DAT 3-day window, there's holes in it. And when you look at a 7-day window, you don't know how many examples they're actually pulling that information from. What's their pool or their source? When we look at freight waves, it's real time, it's real information, and it is accurate. It is accurate because people are reporting on it every day. I call it a predictive tool because if tenders are going out today and being picked up in the next 24 to 48 hours and they have 2 to 3 days transit, you generally understand if you're looking at a rate with a 2-day transit window, know within 4 days what something's going to look like. So first thing we look at is where and when do we want to move into certain areas? And then where do we want to go once we get there? And how much do we charge? The charging portion, a lot of that is instinctual. As you know, Russ, you have boots on the ground, 100 boots on the ground every day that tell you and give you feedback of, hey, man, there's 40 people waiting in line at every shipper I've passed.
Right.
Or, hey, this is dead and the phone doesn't ring. But we use freight waves as our compass for our direction. We still use the broker to carrier and shipper to carrier spots on DAT like we discussed last week. We also use our own historical data, and we just have to trust the people in our office. It's not always easy because, you always want to keep pushing and have that little John Rockefeller inside. How much is enough? Well, just a little bit more. Those are the load planners that make your driver successful personally, as well as financially. But this is last week's look, and this is the tender rejection rates on a weekly basis. And when you look at this is the reefer outbound tender rejection. And so you have the scale down here on the bottom, like we talked about, and you look at the rejections in Florida. Now, I didn't pull it up this week, and I will for next week and get my information up to date.
So I was going to ask you,
Yep.
I see that Florida, is that for all
this
trailers?
This is for reefers, and this is for last week.
Okay.
Last week's rejection for reefer trailers. And so you start to see that there's some areas that are starting to cool off, which is what is in red with the rejection rates that are dropping. And then you see the blue, which is areas that are getting hot. So kind of the really neat thing about freight waves is you have a similar map to this for DAT for how the rating goes. We don't know the pool, but this is actual rejection. So we know that, in Florida last week, it was still hot. Like you said, some of it's starting to soften up right now. If I pull this information now, this will change because whatever we see in the market today, I'm finding that 3 to 5 days beforehand, Freight Waves has already given me that information. And the really neat thing about Freight Waves, and I'll tell you, it took forever for me to get on board with it.
Well, we saw that. Logan, your rep at Freight Waves, he gave us the tour about a week or so ago, and we saw that map that you're showing right now, which is really cool.
And
the 3D that shows you the volume.
And I'm super thankful for Logan. I can't say enough. Like, he's not a pushy salesman. Like, customers like to buy, they don't like to be sold stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the tools that we use on a consistent basis. And it's something we touch on. You don't have to spend hours a day looking at it. If you looked at this map and you said, what's in blue is your highest rejection, and the highest is your highest rejection rate for volume. So this map really encompasses two things.
So blue is where you want to go. That's where you want to be.
Yes. And it's like chips on a board, the higher, the better. Right. So, if you start to look, it's like, okay, well, Florida's got rejections, but let's look at the volume that's coming out of there. It's huge volume, but the rejections are down compared to, like we see, Florida starting to lighten up and fly into Georgia. And my goal or my forecast is this is going to start to change more dark blue, and this will be lighter blue next week. But it's really neat because it gives you an at a glance.
On that note, so Mike, we were talking about Florida. Mike called me this afternoon. He was booking one of his guys out of Florida, and he said, "What do you think, Miami dry van, not vented? What do you think, Miami to Portland? What kind of money are you thinking?" And I said, "Mike, I was looking earlier today, and I was seeing posted loads at 5,300, and it's 3,000 miles."
Yeah.
And Mike was, "What'd you get, Mike?" Surprised me.
That's who just called, and I was just signing the Raycon. We got them all set up. That's why if you've seen me been looking down, that's what I've been doing. But I got them 7,800.
78. I was,
Yeah.
and I was seeing posted rates in the fives, and maybe even mid to high fives some, but they were for vented van too. I went back and looked, Mike. So I think you cracked the bat on that one.
Yeah. And that's great. And so when we look at the same information, we'll look at what rates are posted for, but we also post freight. So we know what we want to sell it for. And we know that if we put enough information in the market for what we want to sell it for, it will help dictate that. Whether you're ghost posting close and nearby ranges, carriers can say, well, I saw one for 5,500 when the market might be $8,000. So that's how you get to undersell a carrier, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's one of the techniques. Mm-hmm. So what we use is the information off of FreightWaves. And essentially I look at it like stock trading. Okay, Russ, let's say that you wait for your quarterly reports to do your trading in stocks, right? You look for the earnings quarterly to find out whether you're going to buy or sell something for a news release. Well, I have a guy on the inside that tells me, hey, AT&T's up 30% and Walmart's down 20%, and they can't find their margins because of, the inbound, outbound shipments in the U.S. I'm going to dump Walmart and pick up AT&T based off of what's currently going on there.
It's good as opposed to information you're getting.
Absolutely.
Right.
Every
you're
time.
Making an educated decision on where to send these trucks.
Correct. Yeah. Like we're not going to send as many people to Florida now. And as you start to see it, but we've already started to pull that back. I think we only had 2 guys in our entire fleet run down towards Florida unless they live there. And then we're going to start moving towards Georgia.
That's what
and
we
out towards
did
Arkansas.
With Tom and I this afternoon, we were talking about what to do with Jesse. He was at home. He's coming out tomorrow morning. He's at home for a 34, and he lives in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And Tom said it's cooling off in Florida. We need to kind of get to Georgia, maybe short Thursday to Friday, and then shoot him north. So that's what we did. We kind of and usually we do send him down into Florida, but we passed on it for Thursday to Friday. We went over to Georgia, and then we're going to shoot him up.
Right now, you got to remember this information is almost 2 weeks old at this point, right? Yeah. So if you look at it, so Tom's great figuring that this week, and that's great that he's got his feet down to the fire to feel the heat. But when you stop sending guys in ahead of time, or when you know to send them ahead of time, like we know where we're going to be sending guys next week now, because it tells us that we can get in there 2 days early is all you need, and you need to get out before it closes up. So this way you don't take a lesser rate going in thinking you're going to win and not.
Right.
Well, I was just going to say that this gives you real time, but a lot of times towards the end, like Florida starts cooling off, the rates don't reflect that going in, so they're still not paying, the money more going in, right? And then you get there thinking you're going to get the money going out, and you don't. Right. I got lucky. Normally when I run Florida, I short hop out. Like my plan is I never end up there on a Friday, to get if they're going to keep running for the weekend. And he was going to be empty. Both of my guys are going to be empty tomorrow, and I would short hop them to Savannah or South Carolina,
Dothan.
and then get the weekend load.
Or Dothan, Alabama, something like that. Yeah,
over there.
Exact same thing. So what we looked at was the color. If you look at the color the week before this, it was dark blue. And then it turned to a lighter blue, which means they still have rejections, but they're falling off. And with that much fall off on a seasonal state like Florida, it's telling us get out. And so what we did was, if we do go in there, we know that we have to ask for more money in, because we're paying to get a guy to Savannah, to Atlanta, to Dothan, Alabama, as opposed to knowing the market's going to carry him. You can still find the loads. Like you said, you can still punch somebody in the mouth occasionally. But if you're playing the odds on the table, the odds are look at the information that's getting you into the state.
I think there was some luck involved there, Mike, when you got that load.
100% it was. It was a random. I always, and a lot of times I don't do this in Florida just because it's you don't really get any calls. But I posted his truck in the Fort Pierce area, and I just got a call, and he came at. When I asked him the rate, I said possibly he might go to Oregon. I usually don't send him that long out of Florida because it's not worth it. And he hit me with $7,000, and my ears perked up, and we agreed on 78.
Yeah. Yeah. What's an extra 11%, It's all profit at that point.
Yeah.
But the other thing cool, Russ, is like this information,
Yeah.
we've just begun to really clear off the surface of freight waves. Like right now we're getting into the maritime data. What are the ports telling us? And I'm trying to find out a way to find out where the freight's going from there. Donnie, who was our training rep over there, did an excellent job explaining the turnaround of the actual containers. A lot of time we don't send the extra vacant containers back because it takes 30 days for them to receive them. It's easier for them to make them and put product in them than wait on it and figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
well, we did look at that with Logan, and I actually emailed him back today. I told him we still have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually Jim Stonkus, our CEO, and Ian want to get on a call with you, and I know you and I both have been busy, but we kind of want to go over some functionality things with it, just so we know how we would use it on a daily basis. But we are all believers in what we saw and what you're showing us. I mean, it's the information that you need in this business, and it's real time. So, I mean, of course, it's great.
Yeah. It just shows you that there's a lot smarter guys than us out there, because it's what they have compiled is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm just a truck driver anyway. So
right. Yeah. I looked at
all these guys
to see a couple of years back and to see if they had some type of single owner op package, and he said something about they have a limited package for single owner operators now. But yeah, I thought it was great back then with what it could provide when I heard about it and looked into it. But from what Logan showed us and what you're showing us, yeah, it's a lot of great information.
And I think right now it's important as carriers that we all recognize now is the time to negotiate with customers. So we've begun using their lane scorecard and their lane signal, which is more of their RFQ tool. It's neat because it shows you the volatility. They measure like a per day trip for a driver and kind of give you a baseline for what the rate per mile should be. It's not an actual rate per mile, but it's like a cost per day. Or profit per day analysis. So there's gauges and indicators when you do an RFQ. So if you have a customer that keeps calling you and calling you, say, well, I want to know what the volatility is across states. We all know that Colorado is fairly stagnant.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of states that fluctuate, and you want to know seasonally when, and you can dive into the information, say, hey, outside of COVID, before and after, what does that market look like? And so now we're starting to use that more on the carrier, the customer development side as well, which this market at some point, we need to be preparing and setting the expectations to owner operators that this is great to have $9,000 weeks. And my hope is that it never ends, right? And it's a win-win for everyone except for the rising prices of goods. But as truck drivers, we're rewarded for our efforts and validated for the first time in a lot of years. But we also need to set the expectation this is abnormal times. And as much as it may be a consistent behavior financially in the market for a while, we need to understand that it's like war. You need to have an exit strategy. It doesn't mean you have to execute it, but you need to understand how to transition that to say, okay, we went from a 90-10 to a 70-30 customer spot market, went to a different hybrid model. And so that's what we're using the tool for now.
That's great.
Yeah.
There was so much information. Ian's a big analytical data kind of guy, and he was really loving the demonstration that we had with Logan.
Good.
So, but hey, thanks, Christian, for keeping us up to date on
Sure
that.
thing, man.
Mike, thanks. So I want to get to Joel Howle, the wide world of sports. What's going on in sports this week, Joel?
Well, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. I thought we were doing the cattle show next.
That's a sport, right?
Yeah, technically, rodeo. So here we are in May. Around the league, we have the NBA playoffs coming up in about 2 weeks. In the East, we have Philly and Brooklyn. Of course, the top 8 teams from the East and the West will be in the playoffs. In the East, Philly and Brooklyn. In the West, we have Utah and Phoenix doing a spectacular job out there. In Major League Baseball, in the East, we have the Boston Red Sox currently in first place. In the Central, Chicago White Sox just ahead.
Cleveland's only a game or two back, right?
Right ahead of Cleveland, a game and a half. In the West, we got Oakland surprising everyone, running away thus far. In the NL East, we have the New York Mets, followed by St. Louis in the Central.
What's going on down there in Tampa, Mike? Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Are they doing any good this year?
Just
I know.
the Rays now.
It's the
not
Rays?
Devil
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Rays.
Tampa
They,
Bay Rays.
We kicked the devil out.
What are they doing?
I don't follow. I'm a. I don't know
He's
what
a
you want to call
fisherman.
it.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm a fair weather sports guy. Playoffs and Super Bowls, the World
Yeah.
Series, that sort of thing. I mean, last year, we did win the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl, and the ALC East or whatever one we're in.
Just throwing jabs.
Tampa.
I do know that. I don't follow it all much, but I do know all those things.
Yeah.
Rays are in second right now.
He's like, I don't
Are they?
follow it, but yeah, we were winning everything last year.
I made a lot of money off of them.
So Joel,
yeah.
interesting thing that happened at the Kentucky Derby. What happened?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so at the Derby, Mr. Baffert, the trainer and owner of Medina Spirit, alleged he didn't know anything about drugging the horse. Someone gave the horse some kind of exterior ointment called Cordo. It was a steroid, and it was a no-no.
Cordo what?
Corticosteroid.
All right.
At any rate, it wasn't allowed, and Mr. Baffert is suspended indefinitely. The horse will be running the second leg of the Triple Crown this weekend at the Preakness Stakes in Baltimore.
So they're going to let the horse run in the next.
They're going to let
next
two
race.
run. You're right. Medina Spirit and Concert Tour are both owned by Mr. Baffert.
Yeah.
And they are second and third in line as far as odds are concerned. Midnight Bourbon is the favorite at 5-2, followed by Medina Spirit and Concert Tour.
Baffert's won the last couple of his horses won the last couple of Kentucky the Kentucky Derby. Preakness, I think he had the Triple Crown winner too. The last time we had a Triple Crown horse, I forget the horse's name. But interesting.
Yeah, he spent a lot
So
of
I
money.
heard
So is that like fentanyl for horses?
It's something like that. It's
not
illegal.
fentanyl, that's for sure.
So is this true? I did see a story about this, Joel. Did one of them were one of the excuses that somebody took something and peed on the hay that the horse ate? Was the
Bob
excuse?
Baffert tried to say that in the beginning, Mike. I read that.
I read it too somewhere. I promise you.
Yeah, I did
Not
too.
making that up.
It was
And
on
I thought
ESPN.
it was
It's an exterior
ridiculous.
drug you administer.
And it wasn't. That's why I think he got suspended, and they're investigating him because they were just making up stuff to cover
That-
their
yeah.
tracks. Yeah,
I would
that's
imagine
not
the
how he got
horse's
it.
Somebody's not
metabolism
telling the
and
truth.
how big they are.
Yeah.
A little bit of eating them, them eating a little bit of somebody's pee that has something
Yeah.
in it isn't going to show up in a drug test for a horse.
Exactly.
I think we
Sounds
should
like an
name-
excuse
we-
one of our guys gave.
rename the horse Mark McGuire.
Yeah. They corked the horse.
But yeah, we'll see
That was
if
Sammy
he
Sosa.
we'll see if he wins this weekend. In the NHL, in the Central, the leaders Carolina Hurricanes. In the East, Pittsburgh Penguins. In the North, Toronto Maple Leafs. And in the West, Colorado Avalanche. And NFL, not too much going on. We had some volunteer workouts for teams. And Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, where's he going?
To dinner with some chick.
I get to new girlfriend dinner in Hawaii.
Yeah. And then he's going to end up
In
probably
Denver.
in
Probably
Denver.
in
I say
Las
Vegas.
Vegas, and
I
say
hope
Vegas.
Denver.
the rest of their team will be on Green Bay. But it's going to cost them a lot.
Yeah, they're going to have to mortgage the team to get him.
What's
But
going on with Aaron Rodgers? I have heard something about him.
that's what we were talking about. He's nothing yet. He's on vacation with his new girlfriend in Hawaii. And
After hosting,
they'll probably we think he's going to go to Denver, or I think Vegas, but it's one of those two teams that'll probably mortgage the team to get him.
I think he's too expensive for Vegas.
I don't know, man.
I mean, it is Vegas.
The coach of the Raiders, with Chucky, he looks like the Chucky doll.
John Gruden.
John Gruden, yeah, John is crazy. He'll and he
is.
makes those decisions out there. I think he'll pay whatever it takes. That he'll probably trade away the next 3 drafts, all his picks for Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know.
He wants to win now.
Yeah, the food's about to get really expensive in Vegas.
Yeah.
Hey Christian, your guy, did you see that Tebow signed with Jacksonville?
I did. I've been
That's your
defense
boy,
on
right?
social media for a while.
33-year-old
Yes.
tight end. Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's it.
You know they
pretty
did that to
random,
sell some
isn't it?
tickets.
What?
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
I mean,
what?
that's the same reason the Jets picked him up. Same with Favre, just to sell
Yeah.
some tickets. But
Yeah.
it is who you know in this league too.
Yeah, and I know Louis Vasquez.
What's up, Louie?
Shout out to Louis Vasquez,
Shout out
Prime
Prime.
Wellness and Performance. So thanks, Joel. Thanks for the update on sports.
Sure.
Jim Mackey, are you there?
Yeah.
We're going to do, Ray and Jim, we're going to do trucking with Kumar. Joel's going to ask the questions. And if you guys are new to the show or just joining us, Kumar is our sound engineer. And he knows nothing about trucking. He works at a public school during the day. And so, Joel, what are the questions for Kumar this week?
Well, he knows a little bit. I mean, come on, we got.
He's learning a little.
He's learning. He's
Trying to put
learning
the
every
cup
day.
Yeah, we're trying to make these harder each week.
Kumar, are you ready?
I'm ready.
He is ready. He's been studying. Okay. Easy one to start. Kumar, you have 5 seconds to answer this question. True, true or false? Even-numbered interstates run east and west in the United States.
False.
4, 3. False. Is that your final answer?
Correct.
Well, you didn't give it much thought, huh? No, unfortunately, the answer is true.
Yeah, true.
20, 40,
10, 20, 40,
70, 90.
No, I was thinking like,
Think about 75,
95, 75.
yeah. Oh, I mixed them up.
All right.
I'll get the next
that
one.
happens.
I read Trucking for Dummies, so that wasn't in there.
He's worried about the crickets. All right, question
They are
2.
right in front of you.
No way.
Coon, are you ready?
I'm ready.
And Joel's getting a phone call.
So a practical joke on a CB radio turns bad for 2 brothers as Rusty Nail starts hunting them down when they pretended to be candy cane in what 2001 movie starring Paul Walker?
This is a trucking movie, Joel?
This is a trucking
can you
movie. This
repeat the
requires
question?
mandatory.
It's got Paul Walker. That should be pretty obvious.
One more time.
Okay, there was a trucking movie in 2001 we want you to name with a character named Rusty Nell hunting down Paul Walker's character, which was Candy Cane, in the movie. What was the movie?
This wasn't in Trucking for Dummies either.
Well, don't worry, Coom, because I don't know.
Can I
that.
make a guess?
I make no.
Don't answer
You
too
don't even know any
fast.
trucking movies.
It's Fast and Furious.
And all right, everyone,
Wrong turn.
the movie is Joyride,
What?
2001, and
Never
now
heard
everyone's
of
got to rent it.
Paul Walker was in something else.
I didn't even know that one.
Else-
That wasn't.
Than
I
Fast
got
and
to eat
Furious?
crickets again.
Well, we talk about the movie all the time. Selby's in it. He looks just like the killer in the movie.
I'm looking it up right now. I do remember. I do remember it. Yeah, I do remember seeing it.
All right, I should have
Never
stuck
heard
with
it.
Smokey and the Bandit. Sorry.
I think Mark Chavez sent a question in, Joel, for you to ask.
Well, I was gonna do that one last.
Go ahead.
But this one was from Mark. Kumar, do you know what a 10100 and a Gatorade bottle have in common? And no, you know what? We'll scratch the Gatorade bottle. Coom, do you know what a 10100 is?
Another phone call.
It's when you put 10 100s together.
Really? Really?
No.
Oh.
You know, like
Think
10-4,
about it.
10-8.
10-100.
You're in a truck and there's a Gatorade bottle.
This is a tough one.
Wow, we should have bought more crickets.
I don't think he read Truckers 101.
Was
I don't
it-
think he read Truckers 101.
I guess not.
What is that, like a
Um,
trucker's bedpan or something?
Ray, do you know what it is? 10-100.
I don't know what a 10-100 is, but I was thinking it's like a trucker's
I
bedpan.
may just
Really?
way
No,
too
no,
hard
it's
this
like
week. It's a-
Yeah.
10, like 10.
No.
Honestly, when you told me, or when Mark sent that in, Joel, I was like, I don't know what. I had to ask Mark what it was, and
Oh, you guys are fixing the game here.
was
You guys
tough
don't
one.
even know.
yeah,
It's a bathroom break.
That's what,
You
that's
didn't
what
know.
you
It's a
have to use the
bathroom break.
restroom.
Oh,
we
okay.
are.
I wanted to
We
make
are.
something
Gotta
like
eat
that, but I was
cricket.
like, it can't be.
Yeah. Make sure your lids
Yeah.
are tight on your Gatorade bottle.
Yeah. I'll be clean. I'll be clean. But I was sitting at the fuel line one time, and this guy came over the CB, coming in hot. I gotta take a he pulled up, man. He left his truck right in the middle of the parking lot. You see him get out and ran. And
Did he pull the brakes at least?
Well,
That's awesome.
listen, we have a really good driver on our fleet. I'm not going to name names, but he about 2 years ago, and he's a good guy. But about 2 years ago, I think it was Trish that called us, and one morning and said,
Mr. Wiz? Are you talking about Mr.
"Yeah."
Wiz?
She said, "Hey,
names here.
yeah, no names," but she said, "Hey, I got a call from the Loves, and I forget where it was, Texas somewhere." She said that, and they sent me a picture of our driver taking a leak between the truck and the trailer in the fuel aisle, and we talked to him about it, and he said that when he got in there, he could not wait and didn't know what to do, and that's why he's not that kind of guy. He just couldn't. He was gonna go in his pants, so they nicknamed him the Whiz Kid on our fleet.
So,
He was out of Gatorade bottles.
so speaking of that, and being so I've had to go number 2
Speak in your mic.
bad. So I've had to go number 2 bad, right? And I ran in, and all the stalls were full. And you might have got a call about me being in the woman's bathroom, because I ran into the women's bathroom. I swear, and no
As
one
long
was
as you
in
were
there.
What's that, Ray?
sitting down,
Well, no one was in there, right?
as long as he was sitting down, it's okay.
Well,
Yeah.
no one was in there, and then of course, as I'm finishing up, someone's in there. I'm like, oh, how am I gonna? I'm gonna get arrested. I'm just, because after I'm done, it's
Hey,
all.
Someone's gonna call
Mike,
my-
let me tell you, this was years ago, but that happened to me once. I did it on accident or a mistake. I was at, I don't know what store, like a Sears or something, and I went to the bathroom, and I noticed when I went in there, there was all stalls, and so I'm standing in the stall, and all of a sudden I see high heels. I hear the high heels clicking and coming in, and I see him sitting like next to the the stall. I was like, oh no, I went in the wrong bathroom on accident, and I did sneak out of there without anybody knowing, but I was so embarrassed.
That's like in Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David uses a handicap stall because he doesn't think
Yeah.
handicapped people use it. And then all of a sudden, wheels pull up to the stall.
I snuck out of there. The lady was looking down, washing her hands or something. I snuck out of there without anybody seeing me come out of
That's
it.
when you run.
I thought for sure. I mean, I was like, man, I'm getting the cops called on me. It's some creep that's in the
If he was in
woman's
a 10-hour
bathroom.
break, he was
Yeah.
leaving.
It was
Yeah,
so
so when
weird.
the lady washing her hands sees you coming out and she winks at you, you better run.
So Ian, what's
I will-
going on
I-
in the news? What's breaking in the world of trucking?
Well, there's not really too much breaking this week. There were some
Except
updates.
the bridge?
Yeah, there are some updates from last week, including the bridge. But first, I want to get into the pipeline. Christian, are you still having any trouble getting fuel, or are you all good? Are they all open by you?
We ran out of plastic bags, to be honest with you.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. Everybody's good around here now on fuel. So
What's
we're
the
good
price of gas there in Roanoke right now? Did it go up?
It did. It went up, I think, about 10 cents. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Dixie cups work pretty good too if you run out of.
Yeah. Just wash them really
bags.
well when you're done. Yep.
But yeah, the Colonial Pipeline is back up and running. They say they ended up paying like $4.4 million, and there were some more developments with that. We learned that it wasn't actually the pipeline that was attacked; it was the pipeline company's billing system. So, without knowing who to bill, they just said, we're gonna turn it off." So, it was possibly avoidable to have all that chaos and shutdown, but they didn't know who was going to get paid, so they stopped that. Over to the bridge. The bridge is
A mess.
over on I-40 in Memphis. There, it is causing a lot of problems. What used to be like a 15-minute drive can be up to an hour to 2 hours. I've even seen some people say 3.
So Jim, how do you get around that bridge?
Well, there's another one right there at 55, or you can probably go north up 55 and cut across Dryersville or whatever that is into Tennessee that way.
Yeah.
If he's going across 40.
So it's going to add an hour or an hour and a half to your
Oh, yeah.
trip. Yeah.
and that's a bridge that's not used to, that many vehicles, because it's getting more than double what it's used
Well,
to.
the worst part of going across 55 for 40 is when you get across it, you can't turn to the left and go back up because there's low bridges. You have to go all the way around the outside to the south and then to the east to go back up on 40.
Oh, wow.
You got to take the loop around. You can't go straight up on when you get across the bridge because there's a low bridge there.
So it's, what do you say, Jim, just to get around if you're going westbound?
If you're going westbound, you'd have to go down the east side of Memphis, then back up the south side, and back up to 55 to go into Arkansas.
Yeah, take the 55. Yeah.
You can't go across the 55 bridge and to go north right away over to where the 40 bridge is.
Yeah.
Because there's low bridges, low underpasses there. You got to go clear out and around the city and come back.
So, Ian, have they said how long this is going to take to fix this bridge?
They really don't know yet. They do have a contractor that just began work, but I'm sure they're crunching numbers, they're inspecting, and it could be a while before they figure out how long it's going to take.
So it's going to be a while.
But the previous inspector, who had inspected the bridge twice and did not find the crack, has been fired. So thankfully he's not watching our bridges anymore, at least in Memphis.
He skipped his pre-trip.
Yeah. But it's a good thing that they did find it and are going to get that fixed, because it's possible it could have been a lot worse if that bridge would have went down when there's hundreds of people on it. And that
yeah,
been
definitely.
Terrible,
so we'll keep you up to date on that.
It's a clean break.
Yeah, it is clean break.
Yeah, it's a break. We saw it. So, Ian, what else is going on in the wide world of trucking news?
Well, I was going to bring up some numbers when it comes to the used truck market and let you guys take it from there. But you guys honestly did a very good job talking about it earlier. I can still run through the numbers. It's really just April of last year compared to this year. Last year, average sleeper, truck sales. These are used. They for something with about 400,000 miles, they were doing about $42,000, and this was April last year.
And these are averages.
Averages. And this April, we just went through. They are bringing $62,000 for the same almost the same truck.
Yeah.
The average is a little bit more on the miles even.
Brian mentioned that to us a week or so ago, and one of our drivers had called me and asked me to get him in touch with Brian because he was looking to buy his own truck now. And Brian told me on the phone I got a three-way call going with him for Ben, and Brian told us, me and Ben, that listen, man, out of 10 dealerships we got 9 used trucks.
Yeah.
He said we're trying to get them, but just the market is just every truck that's available, and no one's letting go of them. They're paying a premium for them when they're buying them at auction. So it's a tough time.
Absolutely, and it's not even just sleepers. It's day cabs and box trucks. They cannot keep box trucks on the lot. It's really a struggle for these dealers and buyers, and they're not seeing that it's going to get better anytime soon. So I mean, we can talk about it. I think I would love to have Brian on the show and get
we can get him on the show.
Yeah, and get his view into that world. Find out, is this a good time to buy? Should you buy now or wait? Because it could be prices are going to continue to skyrocket, and you could have benefited buying now compared to in a year or 6 months.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just hedge your risk. If there's guys out there that don't have a pocketbook, if it goes south, hold off, because I think it's the same situation's not for everybody. And if you don't have a pocketbook,
it isn't.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, I bought 4 trucks early in the year. I think, Ian, when did we buy those? In January, roughly in January. And I paid a little bit more for the same, basically the same trucks that we bought a year ago. I paid a little bit more, but it wasn't like astronomically more like it is now. and I'm glad I bought those 4 trucks then, because I'm not buying anything until it settles down.
And I regret not calling Brian on his card that you gave me in Florida right exactly when I met him. You know,
Yeah.
I waited a month and capacity's gone. So
Yeah, and I think I got like the last 4 of those trucks that he told me. He said that's it on those Pro Stars that we've been buying. I mean, they've been great trucks for us. But yeah, I'm holding off. You know, I don't plan on buying any other trucks until things change. And being an agent, a terminal Meadowlark, you know, Christian, we do have the opportunity to seat drivers in a full service lease truck. They're new trucks. You know, it's a great opportunity for a driver. We have quite a few of our guys in them, so we have ways to keep our drivers moving until we can buy more trucks.
Right, and the same answer for trailer capacity. Meadowlark has a good trailer capacity answer there too. Yep.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it in the news, huh, Ian?
What about AB5?
The what?
The AB5, the ruling in California that owner operators.
Yeah, they said that passed. We have one driver, Mark Chavez, that lives in California. I don't know what you guys have. Anybody that lives out there, Christian?
3.
Okay.
Yep.
I called my payroll company. Steve is our guy that does our paychecks payroll. That's who our administrator of payroll is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him, you know, can I get, how's this work? Can you look into it? My guy that's in California, if he doesn't move, we have to have workers' compensation on him. So Steve said that we can get Ohio workers' compensation. I have that on my company drivers anyway, and everybody in the office. He said we can add him onto your workers' comp policy in Ohio because he works for you guys. And from what he was seeing, we should be okay. We would, as long as we add the workers' comp. He said I will get you a definite answer, but he goes, for everything I'm seeing, you should be able to add workers' comp in your state, and he should be able to stay on your fleet without changing.
I think go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask: is he a company driver for you? Is he?
He's an independent contractor for us. So
and you could still do it like that, huh? Okay.
I think we start to muddy the waters a bit because federal law says one thing. Like state of Virginia lines right up with federal law, and so I think that's the coin: was which side's it going to land on? I'm very cautious when it comes to putting workman's compensation on guys, because then you're admitting that he's an employee. So federal, FICA, Social Security, Medicare, like all of the employer and employee contributions, like the 941 withholdings, I get from a liability standpoint, we're covering him. But outside of that, would your company be liable for all of the other payroll withholdings that should go on? Because
and that's something that we may have to, you know, he hasn't gotten back with me on the definite, this is what we got to do, and that's what he's looking into now. But that may be the option that we have to take, is where we put him on our company payroll too and take out taxes.
Right.
And he might benefit from that, from, you know, having that taken out weekly.
Good time to start to have 4plexes in Barberton, Ohio. You know, if guys want to move to Barberton.
Yeah. I
have a few. Another thing you might want to look into as well is I've been hearing that do some other agencies or they talk about news and the politics that an AB5 law similar to the one in California is being pushed in Congress as well. So if it passes in California, you know, it always mirrors the rest of the country. Always mirrors what they do in California. It'll probably come all the way out here too.
Yeah.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
So if you live in California, just move.
Right.
Come east.
Then vote differently.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys, with the news. Ian, appreciate it. Jim, Mackie, Ray, you with me?
Yeah.
Yes, we're here.
So check it out. I told you about the Mackie family. They put on the cattle show down in Texas, Brenham, Texas. Ian and Tina and Kumar and I flew down there. Kumar got some really good footage. I will say that we flew in Friday. We were able to go to dinner in downtown Houston on Friday night. That was really cool.
It was a good time.
It was a really neat area we went to, some nice restaurants, and we had a good time there. And then the next day, on Saturday, we came out to the cattle show, Jim, and it was great. The experience I had there was not what I was expecting. It was a big deal. There was a ton of people, a ton of cattle. Jim was working the gate when we pulled up. He was security, right, Jim?
Well, I checked in all the trucks and the animals and stuff. Yeah.
He made sure nobody went out with the wrong cow.
Yep. When they went to leave, I had to check them out, make sure everything matched.
Yeah, it was real nice because when we got there, Jim, he got another guy to come out and take his place on security, and he spent the day with us, giving us the tour. We saw some really cool stuff. We got to go over to later in the day. We got to go over to the Mackey Ranch, which was really cool. Jim, and I asked you a really stupid question when we were there, Jim, when we were standing in the barn, because your brother said they just had a baby cow, and you were pointing it out in the field, and then I'm like, well, where's the bull? And I forgot. There's no bull. They artificially inseminate them there. It's a whole different process. And so Jim did demonstrate how that works and that process.
On you?
It was very uncomfortable.
No, not like that. But yeah, Jim, I learned a lot from you down there, and that was a really, really fun weekend, wasn't it, Ian?
Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait to go back next year.
Yeah.
We're definitely going back.
Yeah, it turns out
I'll
I'm
leave
moving
a few
there.
days early.
Kumar's moving to Texas to Brenham.
Hey, we can put a.
I'll meet you guys there. I'm only 100 miles away.
Yeah, Ray's close. And Kumar, he said they can put well, actually, there's a tent there that he had accommodations set up for Carol. He thought Carol was coming, so he set up a tent with a TV in it.
How big is the tent? Because I might bring my 10-person tent.
You might want to bring it.
Yeah.
We'll put it over in the tree by the cats.
So Jim stopped by today because we sponsored the cattle show, and so they put this banner up on in the ring where they walk the cows around. And this was a big family event. I mean, we were really proud to sponsor it. This was for kids, of all ages that are into like 4-H and different things like that. So they won a lot of money. These kids, they passed out a lot of money. They won a lot of prizes. And it was just really interesting seeing. I mean, these are show cattle. Jim, how much do some of those cows sell for?
Oh, there's some of them. When they buy them as a calf, they'll spend $40,000.
Yeah, and that's the kind of cattle we were watching.
The most of them will be around $5,000 to $7,000 is what they'll pay for them as a calf.
Yeah,
but some of them will go up as high as $40,000, maybe $50,000. Depends how big mom and dad's pocketbook is.
That's a lot of money.
I mean, some of those cows were perfect. I mean,
you
could not find a defect on it. I had never seen anything like it.
Yeah. We were all
I'm
blown
sure
away.
They taste delicious because those are some.
I was hungry the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you something funny, Jim. So I didn't plan well. I knew we were going to fly in Friday night, fly out Sunday morning, which is what happened. I only brought one pair of tennis shoes, and they were white. And when you're strolling through there, you are going to step in some stuff. And so when we got back to the hotel Saturday night, I thought I cleaned my shoes. I was cleaning them off outside the hotel, and we went and got something to eat. Came back, got up in the morning, and went to the airport. Got on a plane, and I'm sitting there, and thank God everybody was wearing masks. I started smelling stuff, and I'm like, oh man! I looked at the bottom of my shoes real discreetly, and I still had stuff on the bottom of my shoes. I'm sitting on the plane, and I told Tina, I'm like, I'm glad everybody's wearing masks because I feel I'm totally embarrassed.
I was holding the camera the whole time, so I was not looking at the ground a lot of the time. I stepped in cow poop a lot.
I watched him step in several large pies. So. Ooh.
Wearing the shoes right now.
One of those things you get used to.
Yeah. Ray was going to try and come out there too, but it didn't work out that way. He had some other stuff that came up, but he lives in San Antonio, so it's not that far. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Jim?
I enjoyed showing you around and your company and everything. It was a good time.
Yeah, we had a great time. And thanks for bringing that banner here. We got it hanging in the office. Matthew will put it up on the show. He dropped that off today. Where are you headed to? Kutztown, PA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
just
then
went
where?
over
You going to
snowshoe.
see Mama?
Yeah,
in Iowa?
yeah. Actually, I'm loading at the same place I deliver to.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm going to Cedar Falls, Iowa. And then I'll take a day and a half off and see Mom get a restart in Iowa.
Yeah. So that's good. Tell Mom we said hi when you get there, Jim.
I'll tell her right now because I must have her show her how to watch the TV.
Oh,
so
okay.
She can see it.
So Ray, Jim, Christian, Mike Doty, Joel, Ian, Kumar, Jim Stonkus, he's with us tonight watching, and Zach, our producer. My son Matthew, who does the magic wizardry with the video. Thank you guys. This is our 7th episode. We're pretty proud of it. We're gonna keep it coming, keep it going, and with that, take care, everyone. A couple shout outs. Truckworx Kenworth at Dothan, Alabama. We appreciate you guys. Over the Road Apparel, work clothes for the modern day trucker. Louis Vasquez's Prime Wellness and Fitness, Prime Wellness and Performance in San Antonio, Texas. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Go Browns, go Indians, and go Cavaliers.
See ya.